The RNG in this game was as if you were hunting Pokemon and somehow found two shinies in a row. Thankfully, the Avs were wearing the shiny charm. Avs win over the Minnesota Wild 6-3.
Colorado has won the Stanley Cup.
Look, the Avs deserved to win this game, or maybe more accurately, Minnesota deserved to lose this game, but that doesn't change the fact that there were a ridiculous number of weird and funny bounces going on here. Now, certainly some of those were self-imposed by both teams, but there were also just some strange things happening. A super high event game that actually saw the Avs get outshot 39-38. It was just a little bit all over the place. And it was the Avs who came out hot, putting 6 shots on goal in the first few minutes. And then the nonsense set in. So first of all, credit Ben Myers for battling here. He does a great job getting in on a puck and just outworking Stam Seal to win a puck for Colorado in the zone. From there, it's a good job by Sedlak to get it back out high. Puck comes across. EJ's going to pull the trigger here, and the Avs are set up pretty well. They have 2 guys cutting across to get in front, but it's not a particularly dangerous shot. Ben Myers does a great job to win a stick battle here in midair and has the hand-eye coordination to get a tip on this. If I'm being honest, it's not a particularly good tip. You can see the puck here. It's going to be tough to see in real speed, but it goes off the stick and directly sideways off of the defending Wild player in Sam Steele and directly into the net. It's ridiculous bounce level stuff. Gustafsson never even sees it, and it also means the high stick doesn't matter. I don't know if it was high or not, but because it hits Steele, it just doesn't matter because it went off a Wild player. Look, it's a depth goal. I'm not going to complain about it despite it being absolutely ridiculous. Doesn't matter how it went in the net, just that it went in, and Ben Myers scores his first of the season. Probably not going to be replicating that goal anytime soon, but you take those. Unfortunately, the world might have known that that goal was kind of BS, because less than a minute later, Minnesota gets it right back. So you have a delayed penalty coming on Colorado here, and they're trying to defend in zone in the 6-on-5 situation. And notice this drop from Kaprizov. He plays this extremely well. He drops it. He gets all of the high players in Colorado looking his way, but not looking at him. They're all puck tracking. So as he floats out of the zone, all of the Avs give him up. They all end up turning. Erod the last to look at him, but he ends up giving it up too. And all of a sudden, the entire far side of the ice just gets entirely uncovered. You're in a weird spot where players have come out high and have to hand off people down low, but the extra guys on the ice have created a situation where you actually have 2 players wide open. The 6-on-5 didn't even really matter here. The Avs just all got caught puck watching, all taking the man immediately in front of them. You gotta guard some of the people who don't have the puck, Avs. This allows Kaprizov to walk all the way into the circles. Kaprizov, a very good hockey player even, and just rips a laser past Georgiev. Look, sometimes you get beat. Good teams make good plays. The Avs are not invincible. They're a great team. They won this game. They're gonna be better than Minnesota this year. But Kaprizov is still great. I can live with the Avs giving up goals like that on occasion. What's harder to swallow is the response. That goal just completely killed the Avs in the period, and then they spend the next 10 minutes on their heels, just getting completely caved in when it comes to possession. When they did get possession over that time, they struggled to even cross the red line, and it was just a mess. But the funny thing about hockey is you can play terrible for 10 minutes and get away with it, and it only takes a few seconds for a goal to go in. And so while the Avs were playing terrible, so was Philip Gustafsson. Again, the unsung part of this goal. Great work down low from Val and McKinnon. They win the puck battle against Minnesota and keep control in the offensive zone. That doesn't happen, and this goal doesn't happen. This isn't as good for McKinnon. He's looking to switch off to Sam Girard cutting down the middle, but he just doesn't put enough mustard on this pass, doesn't put it in a very good spot. It nearly gets picked off, but a little bit of a fumble from Minnesota and just some good hard work from Sam Girard. He's able to win the puck back and create an opportunity for himself. Now, this is an extremely undangerous situation. Outside the hash marks, Sam Girard, not a very good shooter, on his backhand, and he really doesn't get much on this. He just floats this toward the goal, and Philip Gustafsson just misses it. Look, I don't want to take any of the credit away from the Avs on that goal. It's good hard work from all of the people involved, but Philip Gustafsson's got to make that save. I mean, that's just Terrible. Helps the Avs out a ton, though, and because of it, they get a 2-1 lead out of a period where they really were probably not the better team. The second and third periods on the whole were better for the Avs, except for on the penalty kill. And the good news is the Avs' issues on the penalty kill are different than they were in the first two games. But the bad news is they're still giving up a lot of goals on the penalty kill. The first one of those ties the game at 2. At least I get to break down a new PK problem here. The Wild, after gaining the zone, are able to get it in deep, which the Avs chase and are fairly aggressive on, but the Wild win the battle and get it out up high. And you see the Avs settle in. They don't really pressure the point, and they're sit in their box, which is fine. You can play a penalty kill like this. That's not necessarily the worst play ever. You see, though, Wild pass it to the middle of the ice, pass it to their bumper man, and he has plenty of room to work with once. Now they go back to the point here, and you're okay there. Again, you're okay giving away the point if you want to. You can give this man away. You want them to shoot it from out high. The problem is, if you're going to give away the point, you cannot leave the guy in the middle of the ice wide open. You have the forwards back there to help defend that area, and that's exactly what the Avs do. Neither of the defensemen step up, neither of the forwards come back, and none of the forwards step up to try and stop anything direct towards the net or that player. So it's an easy shot looking for a tip through the middle, and it's an easy tip if we're being honest. Their penalty kill system looks like a mess right now. It still seems like things are pretty lost in translation for a lot of guys. And while it does seem like the defense is starting to settle in, you still have massive gaps in coverage all over the ice. It's only game 3. I'm not going to actually seriously harp on it until about game 10 or something like that, but you would like to start seeing it show some progress now. Thankfully for the Avs, Filip Gustavsson really didn't want to win this hockey game. Stuff like this happens once or twice a year throughout the league, and the Avs are the benefactor of it this time. Very, very little to break down here. Nathan MacKinnon gets the blue line, holds up, is going to dump this in. Notably does dump it in on net here, and credit to Mikko Rantanen for getting on his horse and hustling hard in on a play that 99.9% of the time results in nothing. The flip in comes through, Mikko hustles, the puck bounces off of Gustavsson, he can't handle it, and it bounces in such a way where Gustavsson is sliding to his right and the puck bounces to his left. This results in the perfect situation. Mikko steps in and gets a free goal. Scoreboard says 3-2, and that's what matters. And this was kind of the story of the game. Minnesota, or more specifically Filip Gustavsson for the first 2 periods, just couldn't get out of their own way. They made it too hard on themselves to win this game. It's not like the Avs played particularly great, but they played better than the opponent they were facing. There was one other weird event in the second period. Logan O'Connor gets his stick stolen and taken into the Minnesota bench, where they won't give it back to him. Keep in mind, Logan O'Connor's on the ice for this, and the Minnesota bench obviously is not. That's ridiculous. They ended up giving matching minors, one to a bench player from Minnesota and one to O'Connor, and that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. If someone on the bench is interfering with a player on the ice, it should be an immediate ejection. No questions asked, should just be what it is. 3-2 going into the third, and look, when it comes down to it, the Avs are killers. They know how to put their foot down. It doesn't take long into the third period for this to become a 2-goal lead, and it is easily the best goal of the game from the Avs side. Not shown here is an extended zone time because of all the hard work of the Avs forwards, getting it in deep, outworking Minnesota, and winning puck battles. But that sets them up very, very nicely for what they love to do. Compher heading back to the point, Manson, the defenseman, stepping up and activating into the zone. Now, initially, Compher goes down the wall to Cogliano, but the play stays in because Manson commits fully. He goes all the way down to the goal line here to give his team options. He's not half and halving this. He's full send. In the offensive zone, he's a part of the rotation on the cycle at this point. And so he gets dropped the puck in the corner and then does something I'm not sure anyone knew he could do, including myself. Absolutely torches Kirill Kaprizov off of the wall to create space for himself and get a quality opportunity. Now, this backhand may end up picking or tacking off a couple of pieces of the bodies in front, but he still puts an extremely good backhand on it, and it finds its way up and into the net. I know it's way too early to draw any conclusions, but if Josh Manson is doing stuff like that, that contract is going to work out just fine. That ended up being the game-winning goal, but there was still plenty of shenanigans to get into here. For anyone on the Minnesota side crying about how lucky the Avs got, go ahead and take a look at this power play goal they scored to cut the lead to 1. Avs on the PK again, I really don't have any complaints on the PK here. I think it's a pretty good job. The Avs keeping them to the perimeter. It eventually comes across to Kaprizov. Kaprizov takes a one-timer here. I don't think this was a pass. I think it was actually just an errant shot. It wasn't really going to anyone. And the Avs have the options covered. There's nothing really getting through dangerously through the middle here. You have Taves kind of trying to cover 2 guys at once, but you're hoping the shot comes through and Georgiev makes a save here. Instead, it skitters wide, and you can't see it because it's covered, but this is about to ping off of Taves' outside skate and bounce directly off of him and in. Just a tough bounce to take there. All right, look, that counts. That evens the scales, right? The Avs don't have to take this luck into any future games. You balanced it out right there. Even with just the 1-goal lead, things felt pretty comfortable for the Avs. They were playing solidly and not really giving Minnesota a ton. I want to try and be as impartial as possible here because I know there's a thing between Minnesota and Colorado where, at least on some level, they're kind of rivals, even if they're 2 teams in very different places. But honestly, I thought Minnesota was getting away with a lot of stuff tonight. And the Avs got away with some stuff too, but it felt like Minnesota was doing significantly more of that cheap, dirty type of stuff. That eventually caught up to them. Minnesota should have had another power play in the 3rd period, but they just sent 6 dudes onto the ice and cheated. It was a 4-on-4 situation. They had a delayed penalty. They pulled the goalie for a 5th, which makes sense. And then they just threw a 6th dude out there. So that's their own fault. At least they got caught for that one. Kind of negated an opportunity for them. And then finally, towards the end of the game, they get caught for doing all the nasty stuff they're doing. A high stick gets called, and the Avs get a power play. Now, this power play has 2 parts to it, so let me just break it down for you. 2 parts of this I want to break down. First, something you don't see very often, Cale Makar flubbing a puck, creating a 2-on-1 the other way for Minnesota. This is also played poorly on the back end by Cale. He gets pretty burned here, and it creates a great opportunity for Hartman, who cuts around the outside, and while he can't get the shot off initially here, Georgiev is way overcommitted, and this is easy. NHL players can pull a puck back and tuck it into a net. It's not a very hard play for them to pull off, and this one just skitters away from Hartman. He just lets it roll off of his stick, and the Avs don't get scored on shorthanded where they probably should have. Less than 30 seconds later, the Avs are back in the offensive zone on this power play and in control as Lehkonen has to check the ref to get control of the puck. But hey, if you got to do it, you got to do it. It comes back to Cale, and this really isn't a dangerous setup right now for Colorado. They don't have anyone in front. Cale's got the puck out high. It's just not very spooky to look at, but it develops extremely quickly. Nathan MacKinnon steps into the open space. Cale Makar recognizes it and throws a puck towards the net, but leaves it in a space where Nathan MacKinnon's going to be able to at least try to get a stick on it. And that's exactly what he does, and it beats Gustafsson. No, it was not a high stick. Could have very easily been a disaster, but ultimately, it's your top stars that get you across the finish line. When that 5-3 goal goes in, the game is essentially over. You don't get a second chance against players like MacKinnon and Makar. When you fail to score, they won't. And the rest of the game was essentially academic. Val Nichushkin gets the empty netter to keep his goal rate at over a goal per game, which is a fun little stat to start off the season. And the Avs are chilling. Meanwhile, Minnesota is last in the Central Division, the only team without a win. Yes, even the Coyotes have a win, and Minnesota does not. This was a fun game, but definitely one you only see in the early part of the season. Once teams start sorting things out and locking things down, you'll still see funny bounces, but you won't see ridiculousness like this. So enjoy it for what it is. The Avs won, so it's super easy to laugh it off, and on to the next one. 2 more things. 1, credit to Georgiev. Outside of that should have been a 4-4 game attempt, I thought he played very, very well tonight. Hard to blame any of the other goals on him, so not faulting him there. And in a couple of cases, definitely bailed the Avs out big time with some ugly turnovers. And he also got a little bit of help. The second good post of the season came through. All right, that is the end of the game video review. Thank you for watching. Head on over to thednvr.com for all of our coverage. I am Rudo, and how long do you think it'll be until I have to pour water on my head on a new set?
Avalanche time, come on, grab your friends. We're going to the playoffs again with maybe